India ready for these boutique studios and Hyrox studios?
100%. The traditional gym model is just going to get outdated like rapidly. You can open a gym all the way down from 20 to 30 lakhs to 2, 3, 4, 10, 15 crores. So at KNOX we have a lot of movement-based training, we have boxing, and we have strength and conditioning, and a combination of those things is what our unique training style is.
So what should be an ideal protein intake?
1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight is a good amount. In terms of universal supplements that I would not require a blood panel for, creatine, fish oil, magnesium supplement, vitamin D3, 90% chance that you'll be deficient in it.
What do you think about Hyrox, Ishan?
I mean, if you open my Instagram, you get an idea of what I love Hyrox here. I thought it was such a phenomenal event. Running became a social activity with all these run clubs.
Right.
But then running beyond a certain point gets boring after a while. And like I said, you have a community, that becomes a revenue source.
Welcome Ishan, how are you?
I am good. How are you, Sanskar?
Doing well. Firstly, let's tell our audience who you are and what do you do.
Okay, so my name is Ishan Lall. I'm the co-founder of KNOX Studio. We run fitness studios as of right now only in Delhi. We have 2 centers, one in Lajpat Nagar, one in Gurgaon. And primarily what we offer is, like really premium personal training. We have group classes and a little bit of F&B as well, like our Gurgaon studio has a cafe. But yeah, that's primarily what we do.
When you say premium fitness studio, what do you mean by that?
So, see, the premiumness can come through a variety of factors, right? For example, one thing we put a lot of effort into is making sure our spaces are very design forward. So we invest a lot of time, money, and effort into making sure that our space has a certain aesthetic. The second obviously becomes a price point. So since we're primarily a personal training studio, the ticket price to come into the studio is pretty high, right? Like if I'm doing PT, it's going to cost me 2,500 rupees to 3,000 rupees per session.
Perfect.
So from that perspective, every person who's coming in is paying a reasonable sum of money to be there. So you could say it's premium from that perspective as well. And then the kind of coaches, like where we really try and define how we are premium, is the quality of coaching and coaches that we bring into our space.
Okay.
So I think those 3, that kind of makes up why I would call us premium.
Also, I went to the washroom and I could see Arata there, Perfora there. So you have thought about your clients and what products they should be using.
So, like brands like Arata, like I said, the co-founder, like one of the founders of Arata was a client of ours. So we collaborated with them. We obviously like their products. It's a certain kind of product, and that's kind of why we have them. And when you came in, you would have seen the merch rack.
Yeah.
All the brands over there. They're not like your old school traditional brands. They're like new age brands. Because our community also tends to be a lot of startup founders, a lot of people who are running their own businesses. So they like to come in and collaborate and present their products on this platform. So works out well for them, and we also like associating with them.
So when you say you are a premium fitness studio and you are charging about 3,000 per PT session, so who is mostly your clientele?
See, the clientele, like I said, is mostly people, a lot of self-employed people.
Okay.
So our 2 centers have a slight variation. Our Lajpat Nagar audience is very much people who are, either running their own businesses or, they have, historical family businesses. And it became kind of an extension of the same community. So we're located in Lajpat Nagar, and most of the people who come will be from, New Friends Colony or GK or those kind of areas. Because of the kind of training we have, we do have people who come from a long way away. We have people who drive from Vasant Vihar also.
Oh, wow.
Right? So they come quite a way. But most of the people will be like from that locality, self-employed entrepreneurs running their own businesses, because obviously, if you're going to be paying 9,000 to 12,000 rupees a month on your fitness, you're going to be able to afford it. In Gurgaon, our audience varies a lot more, because here we have group classes as well, which is at a slightly cheaper entry point, and then you have PT on top of that. So you do have some more corporate clients coming here as well, because let's say if you're coming for a group class, you'll pay 7,000 to 10,000 rupees a month for unlimited sessions, right? So that brings different people, and a lot of people, what they do in Gurgaon as well is they want to come train every day. So what they'll do is they'll buy a package where they're doing group classes 3 days a week, and then they're doing PT 3 days a week. So they're able to like utilize the space a lot more.
So initially you were telling me about opening new revenue streams for KNOX, and essentially you want to do open gym sessions wherein people can just come in and buy a session and work out. So how does that work out, and what are other revenue streams that gyms essentially can generate?
Okay, so like with the fitness studio, I told you here primary products was personal training, and then here we added group classes, right? So the way a group class utilizes space is very, very different. So now, at least in this gym, we've realized that, hey, the afternoon hours are quite empty. And the thing is, people who have PT packages, they want to come work out sometimes, but they don't want to be paying the same price for the service of PT every time, right? So we decided to add on this service, which was open gym, so that people don't feel like they have to get a second gym membership when they come here, because they don't want to have a PT session every time they come in. So even the way we opened out open gym, it wasn't that you will just open it out to everybody. Our open gym is only open to our existing members who have PT packages. Right, because at the end of the day, you still have to maintain, if you're charging that much for a PT session and the gym is crowded, right, you're going to start to dilute the experience of the people who are paying for the PT session. So it became an add-on feature for our existing clients. But in terms of what are other ways you can increase revenue, right? At the end of the day, when you create a fitness studio, it's a community space, right? What is community? It's the attention of a certain group of people in a business context, that I have the attention of these people, right? Now, there are lots of ways that you can utilize that attention. So, for example, in KNOX Gurgaon over here, we have a cafe, right? The cafe was meant for two reasons. One, of course, it increases revenue, but it also becomes a community space. I've come here, I've worked out. So this is a lesson we learned from our Lajpat Nagar branch, that people want to hang out post their workout. So when people come here, they work out, they want a space to chit chat after they're done, right? Maybe they want to have a coffee, maybe they want to have a juice, they want to have a snack. People like that experience. So here we created a cafe where a lot of times our group class will finish and 10, 15 people from that group class go straight to the cafe. Their coffee orders are known by the people there. They have a coffee waiting for them. They have a juice waiting for them. It's very, because they come here so often, it's very much on a friendly basis. Everyone knows each other's face. And it kind of feels like home. So people earlier who would come here for an hour, hour and a half max, now end up staying for 2.5 hours. And their average order value every time they walk through the door now goes from maybe 3,000 to a 4,500 to a 5,000, right? That becomes an additional source. Then merchandise, because again, you've built a community, people like to associate to that community. So if you're able to create cool merchandise for them, they want to represent that they are a part of your community. Right, and then the third thing is, like I told you, all the brands that we have on here, we have the attention of these people, and brands want the attention of those people, right? So of course we're able to leverage that. So we're able to, we charge fees on brands that are listing their products here. But even it's not like you can just pay and have your product listed here. We have a certain criteria that we look at, because the product should also provide value to our clients. But that becomes another avenue. We do a lot of events with brands because they want visibility with our audience. So those become like additional revenue streams. And another thing that we do a lot of is events. Right? So we've done, we have our retreat that we run that's called Reset. So we do that, a couple of times a year. We take 20 to 30 people, take them to a nice boutique hotel, curate a 3-day experience for them. That kind of becomes its own thing. We've created a number of event IPs. So we have an event IP called Sunrise Social that we do at Dirty Good. So that, last event we had around 300 people show up for that. We're planning to scale that. And then we do a lot of smaller events, which is workshops. We have a lot of, trainer friend communities. So whenever they come to town, they'll host a workshop here, like Saurabh at SoFit. Whenever he's in Delhi, he'll come here. He'll maybe host a workshop here. So those become additional ways, that we, additional revenue streams. And like I said, you have a community. If you serve them well, they're also able to serve you, right? So you curate experiences for them, and then those experiences have values for other brands as well outside, and that becomes a revenue source.
Interesting point you mentioned, that your AOV goes up from 3,000 to about 5,000. Thanks to your cafe or the restaurant that you have here. But for that, it's very important that you pick up your real estate with that in mind, that your audience or clients should be able to afford that.
Correct.
So how do you pick out space for a good fitness studio, a premium fitness studio?
See, location when it comes to a gym, nobody wants to be driving half an hour, 40 minutes to go to a gym every single time, right? That's a serious problem area for people because, if I'm okay driving a long way for work because वो मेरी मजबूरी है, right? My work happens to be a long way away, but if my gym is too inconvenient, it adds too much travel time to my life. So you have to pick those localities that you're going to have that audience that fits, right? For us, Lajpat Nagar is a premium locality, right? This location, I would say, is not as perfect. And when we were picking this location, in our heads, like the Gurgaon audience, we thought, okay, it's only a 15-20 minute drive for them, but it's slightly like the Gurgaon audience does not even like 20-minute drives, right? In Delhi, 20 minutes is a normal drive, right? Where it'll be like, okay, if I have to drive 20 minutes to my gym, bhai, theek hai, 20 minute choti drive hoti hai. In Gurgaon, the audience does not like to think that a 20-minute drive is too long a drive because here I have a gym in my apartment complex,
of course, yes,
right?
yes.
So wherever you're going, you have to understand the mentality of the people who surround you, because when you have a gym, it's going to be the people who surround you that come. If I'm living in Delhi, I'm not going to I'll come to Gurgaon for a restaurant because that's a one-off. But I'm not going to join a gym here because I have to come here every single day. So you're like, okay, fine. How do I cater? What is the mindset of the people around me? I need to study the audience that is in the vicinity and understand what their preferences are, right? A Gurgaon audience needs something right at their doorstep, right, for them to be able to go to it. But a Delhi audience, a 20-minute drive is also viable. So now when I plan कि hey मैं लाजपत नगर में खोलूंगा, I can be like, oh, Panchil से लोग आएंगे, New Friends Colony से आएंगे, GK से आएंगे, but Gurgaon I'm like, okay, fine. If I want to open a very premium gym, I need to be right next to Camellias, Magnolias, where people have the paying capacity to come to my studio.
Now coming to numbers, let's say somebody wants to open a premium fitness studio. What is the capital expenditure they can expect to be putting in?
There are multiple levels to this, right? First, how big a space do you want to create, right? Second, what is your concept? Our concept is PT. So luckily for us, our investment in equipment and machines is very little. We get basic machines, we get basic equipment, because if I get too much equipment, then that defines what kind of workouts the trainers are doing. Here, our trainers do a variety of different things, so we need equipment that is capable of a variety of different things. That's your dumbbells, that's your squat rack. You can do 100 different things with these. So our expenditure on, let's say, equipment is much less, and our expenditure on aesthetics of the space and all go a little bit higher. But that is our model. You can have, there's Barry's Bootcamp, right, which is a model in the US, which is a boutique fitness studio. Their class revolves around doing a treadmill run and then doing weights after that. Now, if you have to buy 10 Barry's treadmills, each of those treadmills is going to cost you 8 to 10 lakhs, right? So, तुम्हारा वहीं पे एक treadmills में ही 80 to 90 lakhs का cost आ गया, right? That is that fitness model. So, you can open a gym all the way down from 20 to 30 lakhs to 2, 3, 4, 10, 15 crores, right? If you just want to take the KNOX example, how we operate on our model, our Lajpat Nagar space, which is a smaller space, to open a space like that, you could do it in 1 to 1.5 CR, like quite easily. Our Gurgaon studio, much larger, you're looking north of 2.5. But, like I said, there's just a lot of variables that come into it. You can, increase your expenditure on equipment and that cost can go up drastically. You can decrease your expenditure on equipment and that cost can go down as well. When we are building our space, we take additional efforts. Like we spent a good amount of money on our air conditioning system. One, because we wanted energy efficiency. We wanted a system that doesn't break down, so that even though the capital expenditure might be high, then your monthly operating costs go down, right? So there are 100 different ways to skin this cat. You have to figure out what works best for you. Like I have a friend who just opened a studio. It was a Pilates studio. She was able to do so within like 25 to 30 lakhs, right? So you can open a studio within that much as well. So if you are someone who's like, hey, I want to build a studio, first start with what is your vision for what the studio should look like. What is the concept I want? If I want a Pilates studio, do I want a, maybe a Hyrox studio? If I want a Hyrox studio, I need 5 treadmills. I need 5 row ergs. I need 5 ski ergs. If I want a basic PT gym, then I don't need as much equipment. If I want a CrossFit box, I just need 10 barbells and plates and a few racks, right? That concept will define how much money you're going to need to spend, and the variance is great, but you can open a pretty reasonable starter space. I would say 20 to 30 lakhs, but in terms of how high you can go, the sky is the limit.
What have you seen? Is India ready for these boutique studios and Hyrox studios?
100%, right? The traditional gym model is just going to get outdated more rapidly. The same thing happened in the US, right? Where it was all about traditional gyms with their entire setup. You're spending crores of rupees on, over there probably millions. I'm saying over here you're spending crores of rupees, spending a lot of money on equipment. You don't even have proof of concept yet, right? You're like, oh, I'll open this gym, and you hope for the best that you get the audience. Whereas with a boutique setup, you're able to test and adapt much more agile in an agile way, right? I can open a gym around a certain concept. I can tweak that concept, and I can figure out a community of people who will come and train with me. Right. So I feel like not just India, in the world, boutique fitness is where it's going to be, because people go to the gym because not only just to work out, but it's also a social space. It's a community space. I go home every day, I go to work every day. What is the 1/3 space that I'll go to on a regular basis? College में होते हो तो दोस्त के कमरे में चले जाते हो, ठीक है, वहाँ पे जो होता है. But when you become an adult, what is it? That third space that you go to reliably every single day is your workout space, is your gym, right? And you want a community there. And boutique fitness studios provide you that community, provide you that vibe, it gives you that homely feel where it doesn't feel like a chore. So right now, I feel like anyone who's thinking about wanting to open a studio is the perfect time. You don't need 10, 15, 20 crores to open a gym. You need a smaller amount of money, you need a little bit of passion, you need a good concept, and you can really create something cool and create a community of people around it. Because if you look at gym penetration in India, it's like a very, very small percentage of people in India exercise, right? And as more and more people, as the income level in India goes up, health and wellness is now becoming a luxury that everyone wants to be able to afford, right? And you can start catering to them. Obviously, tier 1 cities, still there's so much scope, but I feel like at every level of city, there's scope to open places and do really, really well.
If you're putting in 1.5 CR, what's the monthly ROI you can expect?
So if the kind of space you set up, if you're spending 1.5 CR, a lot of factors come into it, right? So I want to, look at how much rental I'm paying for the space. Like if I'm in a tier 1 city, I want to make sure I'm keeping my rental under 15 to 20% of my cost. With us over here, because we're PT, we have to really worry about our trainer costs, right? And we try and keep our trainer costs 35% or lower. Obviously, it fluctuates, different variances happen, but you want to manage that, right? If you are doing that, then if you spend 1.5 CR, you want to be looking at least anywhere between 30 to 35 lakhs a month you want to be making from a, let's say, 3,000 square foot space. But like I said, there's multiple different models here, right? If you want to operate a group class studio, your trainer costs will go down substantially, but your revenue will also go down because the ticket price per person goes down. So there's lots of things to play with here. The way I would say look at it is make sure your, like I said, rentals are staying 15 to 20%, your trainer's costs are staying around 35% or less. And then, you probably have another 10, 15% cost on top of that. But try and keep in mind, whatever model you're doing, you're looking at profit first. You're at least this much I want to make, because you'll have fluctuations throughout the year. A gym is not a business that stays stable throughout the year, right? Especially with our kind of model where we have, HNIs as a part of our network. June, July, everyone's traveling, right? So suddenly your revenues take a dip, then some random month, suddenly everyone is back in town, they suddenly shoot up, right? So you kind of look at an annual basis, you're I need to be pulling at least 25 to 30% of profit each month over the year, and that's kind of a good way of looking at it. But absolute numbers, like I said, there's no point getting caught in absolute numbers. It's going to depend on what your costs are what your concept is.
Okay, coming back to KNOX, I see that a lot of creator collabs happen with KNOX that have helped you gain the popularity on social media, on Instagram specifically.
Yeah. No, those are not collabs. They just happen to come.
Organic.
Organic. It's 100% organic. So in terms of like, for the longest time, we didn't do anything with influencers. Then off late, we did have influencers who were coming in and they were shooting content, and it was obviously providing us value. So then what we decided was, we'll create something for them where we'll maybe offer them a few additional sessions and give them some benefit. But there's no that, if you're an influencer, creator, X number of followers, you're coming here and free gym or anything like that, right? Because at the end of the day, we place the highest value on the time of our trainers, right? So if you're coming in here and you're utilizing, the expertise or services of one of our trainers, the expectation is that you're going to pay for it. And most of the, actually all the collabs have been organic. We don't pay influencers here. We just give them maybe additional benefits for a few sessions. That's about it.
So Ishan, what can be an ideal workout split for somebody, say a 24, 25-year-old who wants to do just general fitness and he wants to just be fit, has a desk job and wants to be fit?
Okay. So I think at least the first step for everyone is that if you've not been working out, is to get strong.
Yep.
Right? Like having a basic foundation of strength is going to help you avoid injury. It's going to allow you to do what you want with your body. So a good starting point is, how can I get me to do 3 days of strength at the gym? I would say a full body split, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm showing up at the gym. I'll do primarily compound movements. So like you're doing squats right now, maybe a squat, bench, deadlift, a rowing movement of kind, just 4, basic movement patterns. Compound lifts again, focusing on gradually, progressively overloading. So I'm increasing the amount of weight reps or just overall load that I'm doing each week very, very gradually. But that's for beginners, like full body. If you're just starting out, start with slightly lower reps, slightly lower weights and higher repetitions, because that will allow you to learn the movements at less risk. So once you've mastered the movements, then you can start going up in intensity by increasing the weight and coming down in reps. So 3 days full body. Then if I want to add a layer on top of that, I would do some sort of cardio work, because I feel like, if you're training your muscles, you should train your cardio system as well. Something I didn't do for the longest time, but now I do a lot of endurance work and I feel the benefit of it. I feel so much better. So, if I'm doing 3 days of lifting, maybe I would add 2 days of cardio, 1 day where I'm doing very high intensity intervals, where maybe I'm going very hard for 30 seconds and then resting, and maybe doing 5-6 of those intervals. So maybe I can get on a salt bike, or I can get on a treadmill. I can do an all-out sprint on that for 30 seconds all the way up to 4 minutes also, right? You can pick a duration. If I'm doing 4 minutes, obviously my intensity will have to come out. If I'm doing a shorter duration, I need to go harder. If I'm doing a slightly longer duration, I go slightly less hard. But the idea is to do intensity, rest, and then the other day of cardio, I'm just going to do long steady state. So anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour and a half of just easy, steady cardio. And if I do that, I'm kind of covering most of my bases with health and fitness. So just to reiterate, first start with strength, just do full body 3 times a week, progressively overloading, starting with lighter weights, higher reps, and then introducing some cardio if you can add 1 or 2 more days, and that should do you pretty well.
Nutrition is the most important topic that everyone wants to know about, right? And in that, protein as well. Protein intake is a very major topic. So what should be an ideal protein intake a young, healthy individual should take?
Yeah, if you are lifting weights, then you want to have your requirement for protein intake becomes a little bit higher, because if I'm lifting weights, I'm breaking down muscle tissue, so I need to have enough protein to repair that. Now, a general guideline that most people I would give is 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight is a good amount if you're training regularly. If you're not training regularly, even 1 gram per kilogram of body weight works. There's no problem with eating higher and higher amounts of protein. Protein is also more, you have more thermogenesis when you eat protein. So just you burn more calories just by virtue of eating protein. Right. So that becomes another avenue. So like I said, broad guideline, if you're training, if you're doing the program I just told you, I would recommend 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight. If you're relatively sedentary, you don't move around that much, 1 to 1.2 will also work.
And what amount of that should come from supplements as opposed to diet?
See, I don't like to bash any particular thing. I know a lot of vegetarians, vegetarians who can't consume dairy also, right? So they're for them, protein sources become very limited. So say someone who is vegetarian and doesn't consume dairy, I'd be like, maybe you should have a protein shake twice a day because your sources of protein are much more limited. If you're a meat eater who eats everything, and like myself, I am a meat eater, I eat most meats, I don't even have a protein shake. I'll only have a protein shake on days that I absolutely need it. Otherwise, I won't even have a protein shake.
Very interesting, very interesting.
So I don't, I'd say try and get it from as many whole foods as possible. But if you have to have multiple shakes a day to get your protein, that's not a problem either.
Is it okay to take multiple scoops of whey protein?
It's like any other form of protein, right? You can have multiple scoops of protein if your system can handle it. It's just when you have protein in a powder form, it's very processed, it's very refined, and you just need to get used to digesting it. You can train your stomach to eat anything. So if you want to build up to, let's say, having 2 scoops a day, I would start with half a scoop, then over maybe a span of 2 months, move to 1 scoop, and then keep adding half a scoop till I get to that desired amount. But if you jump into it straight away and start having a large quantity, then that could be a problem.
What do you think about Hyrox, Ishan?
I mean, if you open my Instagram, you'll get an idea. I love Hyrox here. I thought it was such a phenomenal event. It's just expanding the scope of what fitness is for people, right? I was giving the analogy earlier as well. It's like a adult sports day, right? As adults, kya karte hain? Like a lot of us go to work. We don't really get much social engagement with the things we do, right? Even if I go to the gym, I usually am working out by myself. Now when I go to Hyrox, suddenly I walk into this place as like an athlete check-in. I have people like supporting me and like cheering for me while I'm exercising. And that experience, it's quite a hook. So anyone who's ever done a Hyrox will tell you it's an amazing event and they absolutely love it. And from us as a gym perspective, Joel and I went and did the first Hyrox that happened in India, in Mumbai. Right, that time it wasn't as popular, and we did the event, and we were immediately like, this is gonna be big in India as well, right? And we came back and we're like, we need to do more Hyrox focused stuff. So we bought a lot of Hyrox equipment. We got the ski, we got the row, we got these lunch bags and all that are all Hyrox equipment because we knew that this is something that people are going to love, and this is something that people are going to want to come and learn. And yeah, so I just think it is going to be the next big thing in fitness for at least the next 1 to 2 years. And now they're building Hyrox specific gyms that are just geared towards that kind of training. And it's a great form of training because like we were discussing how to train earlier. I was saying strength, and you should do a bit of cardio as well. So Hyrox kind of combines both because you're doing both forms. You have to have a certain degree of strength, even though it's more of an endurance sport, but you do have to have a certain base level of strength to do it, which is nice. So it's not one-dimensional where either you get really strong or you get a lot of endurance. You need to have a bit of both to be able to do it.
A balance.
Yeah, and people like that balance, right? I think what happened was running as a sport really started blowing up. A lot of people came into running, right? Because running became a social activity with all these run clubs.
Right.
But then running beyond a certain point gets boring after a while. You're like, yeah, I ran 10 kilometers, and I'll run 20 kilometers, now should I run 40 kilometers? And you either go down that way or you're like, what else can I do with running? And Hyrox becomes a really fun alternative way of utilizing your running. You're like, oh, after I run a half marathon, 8 kilometers doesn't seem bad, and I get to do 8 other things. So it's a lot of fun that way as well.
Coming back to supplements, Ishan, we talked about protein. What are other supplements that people should be taking?
I don't like to tell anyone to have any specific supplements. Like usually, I have a very scientific approach to how I would recommend supplements, and I always recommend pehle you go get your blood panel done. And also, ye nahi ki you go to blood panel, I see 1, 2 things and I start having supplements. Like reading a blood report is a very complex activity, but that is the data that you should be using for any kind of supplementation that you need to have, right? And obviously your individual blood panel will be like, okay, you should have this supplement or you should not have this supplement. But in terms of universal supplements that I would not require a blood panel for would be things that I love, like creatine, which is obviously the most studied supplement out there. Really helps with performance, helps with recovery, helps with your brain function. So creatine is one. Fish oil, just because in the Indian diet, most of us just don't get enough omega-3s. I would say a magnesium supplement, because again, most of our diet is like we don't get enough magnesium in our diets. Vitamin D3, but you have to get a blood test done for
that,
D3,
yeah.
but 90% chance that you'll be deficient in it. So vitamin D3 with like a K2, MK7, because it helps with the absorption. But yeah, those are the kind of blanket supplements. But other than that, I would not name any supplement that everyone should be having.
Creatine, I feel, is the most controversial one. People always are skeptical about taking creatine or not.
Because there was some say about, a couple of reasons why that happens. One is people say baal gir jayenge, but I think that's now a number of studies that come out recently that disprove that. So I wouldn't worry too much about the hair issue. A second thing is like people associate creatine and creatinine, which is
exactly.
something that comes up about your kidneys. But see, honestly, I personally don't love creatinine as a kidney marker because my creatinine is always elevated, but even if you have a higher muscle mass, your creatinine will be higher than the average individual. Right? If you have low muscle mass, your creatinine can be lower also. So I wouldn't use that to deter me from creatine. The data around creatine is very, very strong. It's the most studied supplement out there. People have been taking it year round, and it helps with performance. And they even did a very cool study recently where, for people who were sleep deprived, they gave them like 28 grams of creatine, which is like almost 6 times the recommended dose, the dose. And those people performed better than if they were not sleep deprived. Like if they had slept properly and not had creatine, their performance was lower than if they didn't sleep properly and they had 28 grams of creatine. So their performance went higher than baseline also, having creatine. So it just that was a pretty solid study that shows it can really help with brain performance as well. So, if I have a late wedding night, next morning I have 28 grams of creatine, but you have to train your stomach to do that. Pet kharab ho jayega.
What's the recommended dosage for creatine?
The dose that the pack recommends is 5 grams, but I personally recommend a higher dosage. Like I have 10 to 12 grams a day. It depends on your weight. If you're a much smaller person, you can have 5 to 7 grams, but if you're a larger person, I think you can have 10 to 12 grams. But the dosage that a creatine box will tell you is always between 3 to 5 grams. I personally like to have higher doses because I've seen benefits from it, and personally, my system has gotten used to it. Some people feel bloating or other negative effects. If you feel those, lower it down and build up slowly. I've built mine up gradually, so 10 to 12 grams is what I have.
Should people take magnesium before sleeping?
Magnesium is an essential mineral for a lot of processes in our body. And I have my magnesium. I have 2 grams of magnesium every day, and I split that. I have some in the morning, I have some in the evening, but you can have it before bed. The idea is not that I'll have magnesium, it'll immediately calm me down. It's not a drug. It's about having enough magnesium in my body for my body to do the requisite things. So magnesium is involved in a number of processes that will help me sleep better. Right? One of that is feeling calmer. So just having the requisite levels is better. It's like people ask me what time should I have creatine, right? It doesn't matter what time you have creatine, you just need to make sure you have enough in your system. Same thing with magnesium, but night time is a good time to have it, yeah.
Perfect. On that note, thank you so much, Ishan. It's been fun.
Yeah, had a great time, man. Cheers.